A viral video claims Aja Wilson was caught on a hot mic, admitting that attacks on Caitlin Clark were planned. Not physical defense, not ordinary competition. Planned attacks. The accusation is explosive. It has everything designed to trigger an immediate reaction. One of the WNBA's biggest stars, the league's most famous player, an alleged secret recording, racial tension, jealousy, dangerous fouls, and a supposed confession that finally proves what fans have suspected. There is only one problem. The clip does not prove that. It was not a hot mic. Wilson was not secretly discussing a Las Vegas game plan against Clark, and she never said the Aces planned illegal hits, elbows, or attempts to injure the Indiana Fever guard. What actually happened is far more revealing. Not necessarily about Wilson, but about the way WNBA controversy is now manufactured, edited, and sold to fans as fact. Because once the original conversation is restored, the entire meaning changes. And the biggest question is no longer whether Wilson admitted to targeting Clark. It is how an old discussion about trash talk was transformed into an accusation that could seriously damage a player's reputation. The viral narrative begins with a familiar promise: stay until the end. Hear the secret clip. See the receipts. Learn why Wilson is supposedly jealous of Clark. The viewer is told the conclusion before any evidence appears. Wilson is jealous. The contact against Clark is intentional. The attacks were planned. Every older interview, endorsement discussion, and competitive comment is then arranged to support that conclusion. That is an effective retention strategy. It is not responsible reporting. The central clip comes from an interview Wilson gave to Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson in 2023. That detail immediately matters. A hot mic normally describes a microphone capturing someone who does not realize she is being recorded or broadcast. This was an interview. Wilson was seated with hosts. Cameras were operating, microphones were visible. She knew she was participating in a recorded basketball conversation. Calling it a hot mic creates mystery that was never present. But the context matters even more than the recording setup. The hosts were not asking Wilson whether Las Vegas planned to hurt Caitlin Clark. They were discussing the enormous reaction to Angel Reese's celebration during the 2023 NCAA championship game. LSU had defeated Iowa. Reese followed Clark during the closing moments, made the "you can't see me" gesture, and pointed toward her ring finger. The moment became a national controversy. Reese was called classless. Commentators debated sportsmanship, race, and double standards. Clark later made it clear that she did not believe Reese deserved the extreme criticism she received. When Wilson was asked how professional players viewed that controversy, she said she found the overreaction amusing. Her basic point was that basketball players say things to one another. They celebrate. They talk trash. They compete emotionally. The men's game has always contained the same behavior, often in much stronger forms. Then Steven Jackson added that players say harsher things to white male players during games. Wilson agreed that going harder at certain opponents could be viewed as an unwritten basketball rule. That was the exchange. No Aces game plan. No planned assault. No admission regarding shoulder checks against Clark during her WNBA career. In fact, the interview happened before Clark had even played a professional game. That timeline alone destroys the central claim. Wilson could not have been confessing to a 2026 Aces strategy against a WNBA player who had not entered the league when the interview was recorded. The viral video attempts to solve that problem through editing. It takes Wilson's broad comment about competitive basketball culture and places it beside later footage of Clark receiving physical contact. The narration tells viewers that the two are directly connected. Once the images are combined, the viewer begins interpreting the old statement as an explanation for the newer plays. But placing two clips beside each other does not prove causation. A documentary can show rain falling and then show a team losing. That does not prove the rain caused the defeat unless evidence connects the two. The same standard applies here. Wilson discussed trash talk and competitive treatment in an interview. Clark later experienced hard fouls in the WNBA. The existence of both facts does not prove Wilson planned those fouls. There is another crucial misattribution. The most provocative wording about saying worse things to white male players came from Steven Jackson. The viral narration repeatedly presents the entire exchange as Wilson's confession. That misleading. Wilson participated in the conversation and agreed with the general idea that basketball contains unwritten competitive rules. People are free to criticize that opinion. They can argue that racial language should not be normalized in sports. They can say Wilson should have challenged Jackson rather than laughing. They can believe her response was careless. But criticism must begin with what she actually said. It cannot begin by placing another speaker's words into her mouth. This distinction matters because the accusation is not minor. Saying a player made an insensitive comment is one thing. Claiming she admitted organizing physical attacks against a colleague is something completely different. One concerns public speech. The other suggests deliberate professional misconduct and possible intent to cause harm. That requires strong evidence. No such evidence appears in the clip. The viral transcript also builds its case by collecting every previous Wilson comment that could be interpreted negatively toward Clark. One example involves Clark's place among the greatest college players. Wilson was asked where Clark should rank after becoming the all-time NCAA scoring leader. Wilson responded that winning a championship matters when discussing all-time college greatness. Some fans viewed that as disrespectful. Others saw it as a reasonable standard from a player who won a national title at South Carolina. Clark had historic scoring, passing, and television impact. She also did not win the NCAA championship. Both statements are true. A person can disagree with Wilson's criteria without treating the opinion as evidence of a secret campaign. Basketball debates constantly involve championships. NBA players are judged by rings, quarterbacks are judged by Super Bowls, coaches are judged by titles. Sometimes those comparisons become unfair because team achievements are used to reduce individual greatness, but saying championships matter is not a confession of jealousy. The viral narrative does not leave room for that possibility. Every Wilson statement must have one hidden motive. If she mentions championships, she is trying to diminish Clark. If she discusses marketing inequality, she is resentful. If she promotes her own signature shoe, she is threatened. If she competes physically, she is targeting Clark. That method makes the conclusion impossible to disprove because every action is interpreted through the same assumption. Even silence could be used against her. If Wilson praised Clark, the video could claim she was pretending. If she did not comment, it could call the silence jealousy. When a theory explains every possible behavior, it has stopped functioning like evidence. It has become a story imposed on the person. Wilson's comments about race and marketing are more complicated. She has argued that black women can dominate women's basketball and still receive less recognition or fewer commercial opportunities than white athletes. Clark's rise became part of that discussion because her endorsement success was immediate and enormous. Some people heard Wilson's comments as an attack on Clark's talent. Others understood them as criticism of the advertising industry and broader cultural preferences. Those are not the same claim. Wilson did not say Clark lacked skill. She repeatedly acknowledged that Clark was an outstanding basketball player. Her argument was that skill alone does not completely explain why brands and the wider public respond differently to different athletes. That subject can be debated honestly. Clark's game clearly earned attention. She became the NCAA's all-time leading scorer. She led Iowa to consecutive championship games. Her range and passing changed the way millions of people watched women's basketball. She later broke WNBA records as a rookie. Those achievements are real. It is also true that black women built much of the modern WNBA while frequently receiving less mainstream commercial attention. Clark herself has acknowledged that reality. She said she earned her success, but also recognized the privilege connected to being white. She praised black women, who created the league's foundation, and said she wanted them elevated. That does not erase her basketball accomplishments. It adds social context around them. Wilson's position can be expressed poorly. It can frustrate Clark supporters. It can sometimes sound as though marketing inequality is being used to minimize the player who received the opportunity. But again, none of that proves planned attacks. The viral video repeatedly moves from opinion to accusation without providing the connecting evidence. Wilson discussed race, therefore she resents Clark. Wilson resents Clark. Therefore physical plays are intentional. Physical plays are intentional. Therefore the aces planned attacks. Each step becomes more serious. Each step requires proof. The proof never arrives. Instead, viewers receive music, dramatic pauses, repeated use of words such as jealousy, targeting, admission, and receipts. The emotional presentation substitutes for verification. The shoe discussion follows the same pattern. The transcript claims Wilson's Nike shoe was sitting forgotten in bargain bins while the company moved all of its marketing power toward Clark. Discounted products are then treated as proof that sponsors rejected Wilson's personality. But athletic shoes are discounted constantly. Colorways move through retail cycles. Inventory changes. Promotions happen. Clark-branded apparel has also appeared at discounted prices. A markdown alone cannot reveal how a company views an athlete. More importantly, Nike followed Wilson's first AONE signature shoe with a second model, the A2. Companies do not normally create a second signature line for an athlete they have secretly abandoned. At the same time, Nike has developed Clark's first signature shoe and apparel collection. That is not evidence that one player defeated the other. Nike can invest in both. Wilson represents championship excellence, interior dominance, defensive greatness, and a long professional resume. Clark represents elite guard play, unprecedented attention, and a massive new consumer audience. A global brand has room for multiple women basketball stars. Turning every business decision into Wilson versus Clark may generate clicks. It reduces the growth of women's sports to one winner and one loser. The league does not benefit from that framing. Clark does not need Wilson's shoe to fail for the Caitlin one to succeed. Wilson does not need Clark's popularity to disappear for the A2 to matter. The real opportunity is that multiple WNBA players now have signature products receiving national attention. That would have seemed far less common only a few years earlier. The viral script also treats every hard foul involving Clark as part of one coordinated pattern. This is where careful analysis becomes essential. Clark has experienced hard contact. Some fouls against her have been unnecessary. Some have been upgraded after review. Officials have missed calls. The WNBA has faced legitimate questions about consistency, player safety, and how physical defense is managed. Those issues should be examined. But the existence of bad or reckless fouls does not establish that Wilson organized them. The players involved have represented different teams. They have occurred in different situations. Some were committed by guards, some by frontcourt players, and some during ordinary competitive possessions that became dangerous. A league-wide conspiracy would require evidence of coordination, messages, direct testimony, a specific admission, a team instruction, a credible investigation. Nothing resembling that appears in the supplied material. There is also a basic basketball distinction between planning to play physically and planning to attack someone illegally. Every professional team creates a scouting report. A defense may decide to pick Clark up full court. It may blitz ball screens. It may bump cutters within the rules. It may force her toward her weaker hand. It may attempt to exhaust her by making her work on defense. It may send size toward her passing lanes. Those actions are planned. They are also normal basketball strategy. The word planned becomes misleading when it is used to blur legal physical defense with intent to injure. A coach saying make her uncomfortable does not automatically mean hit her illegally. A player saying opponents compete harder against a star does not mean those opponents are organizing violence. Language must remain precise. Clark deserves proper protection from illegal contact. So does Wilson. So does Angel Reese. So does every player whose incidents may receive less national coverage. The league should review dangerous fouls consistently, regardless of the athlete involved. But a demand for player safety becomes weaker when it is attached to claims that cannot be verified. False accusations give critics an easy reason to dismiss legitimate complaints. That may be the most damaging effect of this type of content. There are real WNBA issues worth discussing. Officiating consistency, player protection, the media's treatment of black players, the extreme attention surrounding Clark, online harassment aimed at players across the league, the difficulty of separating aggressive competition from reckless contact, the unequal way similar plays become national stories depending on the names involved. Those subjects require trust. When creators alter the meaning of clips, viewers become less able to identify what is genuine. A real dangerous foul can be placed beside a misleading headline. A legitimate concern can become mixed with invented motives. Eventually, audiences either believe everything or believe nothing. Both outcomes are harmful. The hot mic claim also affects Wilson personally. She is not a fictional villain, she is a real athlete with a career and reputation. Accusing her of helping organize attacks is not ordinary criticism. It suggests she is willing to risk another player's safety because of jealousy. That accusation should never be made casually. Wilson can be criticized for her public comments. Fans can disagree with her views on championships, marketing, or race. They can dislike her competitive style. They can support Clark in every matchup. None of that requires inventing a confession. Clark's own public position has often been less extreme than the narratives created around her. She has acknowledged that basketball is physical. She has previously said she did not believe she was being systematically targeted. She has defended opponents from racist and personal abuse. She has recognized the racial context of her popularity. That does not mean she accepts every foul. It means she understands that one incident should not automatically become proof of a wider conspiracy. The online ecosystem surrounding Clark frequently moves beyond what Clark herself has said. Her name becomes a vehicle for audiences already carrying strong beliefs about race, gender, media, and cultural conflict. Wilson's name becomes the opposing symbol. One player is presented as humble, deserving, and unfairly attacked. The other is presented as bitter, jealous, and protected by the league. Real people are reduced to characters. Once that happens, every event must serve the script. Wilson's accomplishments are minimized. Clark's nuanced statements are ignored. Normal competition becomes personal warfare. The audience receives an emotionally satisfying story, but not necessarily the truth. There is an irony in the original interview. Wilson was discussing how outsiders who did not understand basketball transformed a competitive celebration into something much larger. Years later, that same interview was transformed into an allegation that she admitted planning attacks. The clip itself warned about people entering basketball conversations mainly for drama. Then, it became material for exactly that kind of drama. That does not mean Wilson's words cannot be questioned. The discussion about going harder at white players carries racial implications. Viewers can reasonably feel uncomfortable with it. Stephen Jackson's wording can be criticized directly. Wilson's agreement can be examined. The public can debate whether these unwritten rules should continue to be normalized. That would be an honest script. It would play the full context. It would identify which person said each line. It would explain that the conversation concerned the Reese Clark College celebration. It would allow viewers to decide what they thought. The viral version does something else. It changes the subject. It changes the timeline. It changes a recorded interview into a hot mic. It changes general trash talk commentary into a team game plan. Then it presents interpretation as confession.